Welcome to ROK the BLOK. I'm your host, Jon Blok. We have a special guest in the house with us today. We have Mr. Tom Gillespie, who is a crypto scamdemic investigator. Tom, how are you today?
Mate, all good. Bloody early in the morning here, of course. It's just hit 5 a.m. Well, it's just past 5 a.m. So please excuse my outfit. I haven't actually gotten up out of bed yet. This is the first coffee I'm having of the day. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for making time with us. And I'm super excited to be the first one to speak to you on this beautiful day, starting your day at 5 a.m. Very cool. So, Tom, I know you're really into technology and the things that are happening in this space, but, let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit. So what's your earliest childhood memory, with technology?
Mate, that's going to be way back at secondary school. So I must have been about 7, maybe 8. And we were introduced to the concept of floppy disks. They're not quite CDs. They're not quite disks. They're something in between. And they would be about, well, I don't think they were even 1 megabyte at that time. And what we would do is we would write our essays on the computer and we'd put the floppy disk on and record it onto the disk. It was a radical technology at the time, but there were other things. There was a robot that I had that would play Nintendo games with me, and it had these kind of spindles. You might have seen it, and it would control. You would put the controller into it, and you would put these spinny things on, and it would play the game with you.
That's awesome. So you're curious about tech. You're active in this space. As an investigator. What has your personal journey been like?
Well, I can't say that I've worked directly in the tech sector myself, to be honest. But the overlaps that I've had with, obviously, my time trading penny stocks back in the mid-'80s, late 80s, early 90s, at that time we joked that, the geeks would inherit the earth was an expression that we had back then. And actually, if you fast forward today, they clearly did actually inherit the earth. But this was just prior to me joining Stratton Oakmont with Jordan Belfort. Prior to his, run-in with the law, I was actually introduced to him via one of these quant geek characters back in the early 90s. And, I spent a hell of a lot of time with both Jordan and his sort of group of misfits that were able to turn penny stock trading from something that was a laborious task into something that was 99% automated. In 2017, I came across Bitcoin actually, and then later on Scooter Coin, which, obviously led me on to my first movie, the Fakefluencer, my first investigation into Scooter Coin. And that kind of brings us up to about now, where current investigation is into Hex and the Hexicans, still inside the crypto world, but a very, very, very different animal to Bitcoin.
Okay. So tell me, what are your thoughts on blockchain, crypto, and NFTs as it relates to, community and culture?
So when it comes to crypto, basically you have two types of competing algorithms. You have proof of work and you have proof of stake. Now, proof of work, each algorithm is a way of introducing new currency into the system, right? So proof of work, there has to be some sort of work done in order for new currency, or new supply to enter the chain. And what I've seen is 99.9% of cryptos are not proof of work, or there is arguably only one that could rise to the top in that fact because of the way that the mining incentives work. And so I think what you have out there you have thousands, maybe tens of thousands of cryptos right now, but so many of them are proof of stake which essentially means you have to do zero to no work. You can just introduce the token and then people can lock it up for a period of time. And then that's how new tokens come into existence. There's no work involved at all, no stress, which leaves it, as far as I've understood, leaves it open to manipulation, leaves it open. It's very, very insecure in comparison to proof of work algorithms, which I think a lot of people don't really understand, and maybe they don't want to understand it because they're just in it for the pump and dump.
Lowkey Giant.
When it comes to NFTs, if there's a studio or a platform, then it's not crypto. It's not decentralized. It doesn't hold the fundamental value propositions of the blockchain and the crypto ethos. So I think a lot of NFT projects suffer from adoption by a wider audience because they need these sort of middlemen platforms or studios to help them market their assets, and that's understandable. But it just sort of, again, it seems to go against the entire ethos of the blockchain and the decentralization and the immutability and all those original fundamental value propositions that everybody pipes on about it.
You know, you're an investigator, so, and I know you're active. You're actively investigating. I believe you've started your second investigation now. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about, you know, the projects that you're working on now and what you're really excited about.
Yeah, so right now, well, I'm 6 months into my investigation into Hex, which is Richard Hart's baby. And Hex is basically an ERC20 token on the Ethereum blockchain that he launched in 2017, 2018. He's had some success with that. But I've just spent 6 months with the community online. They call themselves Hexicans, and I've basically wrapped up 50 plus interviews, and I'm moving into post-production now. So I'm going to spend the next few months cutting this movie, which will come out sometime before September. This last 6 months has been an extremely sort of wild ride because a lot of the time the Hexicans have been extremely helpful in the way that they would like to turn me into sort of like an asset. So they thought that maybe I might be the useful idiot that can help them market their token. And I thought, okay, that's quite fascinating. So I told them up front quite early on, I said, I'm not here to advertise your token, I'm here to investigate your token. Now, the thing with a lot of these projects in the crypto economy is that they are so bloody complex, not only technically, financially, but economic game theoretically. Like, people go to university for upwards of 6 to 7 years to study this kind of stuff, and people are supposed to absorb this over Twitter, and in Telegram groups. It's just bloody ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? And so what you end up with is a fatigue where you really think, okay, I'm getting closer to understanding this, and at the same time you are, the more questions you ask, the more questions you get. So a bit of a black hole in that regard. So what I had to do was I decided to focus on the people and try to understand, okay, what types of people are attracted to this particular project, and let's talk to those and try to get a sort of a broad spectrum of interest. It never ends.
That's wild. And so with all of this, with your investigations, with your research, like you said, you're in it. I saw your first film, Fakefluencer, which was really awesome. You're on the ground, you're visiting the headquarters and offices, you're interviewing people. It was really great. So with all this activity and movement, where do you see this all going, right? What is your vision of the evolving future? Where are we headed? What does it look like? What are your predictions?
Right. Well, I'm frequently referring back to, do you remember the rise of the citizen journalist? It was about 15 or 20 years ago. It was a hot topic when everybody had a camera in their pocket. Everyone became a reporter overnight, and they called it the rise of the citizen journalist. So I think this is a great template for what we're seeing right now, which obviously, I would refer to as the rise of the citizen banker. So we've all become bankers overnight. We can all loan out, we can all charge interest, we can all transact peer-to-peer. What we're starting to see a taste of right now, which is the rise of the citizen governor. So this is, your decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. Now, DAOs will take us from banker to governor. And what does that look like? That basically looks like, if it goes in the wrong direction, it's many dictators everywhere. As we move from citizen banker to citizen governor, everybody is going to, everybody's already building their own communities today online, but now they're going to have the tools not only to build the economic layer in, but the governance layer as well. And what happens when that becomes a reality? Like we're looking like 15, 20 years. It's not going to happen tomorrow, slowly, but it will happen. You're going to get the rise of these kind of cult personalities, but these cult personalities are going to have their own economic central bank type and their own non-geographical nation orbiting around them, an extremely large amount of power orbiting around an individual. And I think that's going to be a really big test for humanity, actually. And we have like some 270 countries in the world right now. Going forward, we're going to have some 270,000 countries, but they're not going to be countries like we think of them geographically. They're going to be countries as in individuals with massive swathes of people orbiting around them. But what's probably more likely is that you'll have both of, you'll be part of a bunch of different tribes. And then when, you get unrest within those tribes and you're sort of fractured amongst them, you start to realize that you don't have any sort of roots or any identity, and all the people that are around you in those tribes have only really been friendly with you because you hold the same currency, right? But I think the ultimate way to avoid this madness is to get rid of the transactional relationship element, because if you make every relationship transactional economically, then like you lose the heart and soul of relationships, right? So that's one of my concerns going forward, and I will tell my children about it.
Yeah, really good point. Well, Tom, thank you for spending this time with us to chat. Everyone, definitely check out Tom's first film, Fakefluencer, and we will keep our ears and eyes out for your next film. Hexicans is what that's called. What is the official title?
Working title is Hexicans and the Time Value of Money.
Okay, awesome. We will keep our ears and eyes for Hexicans and possibly the title of Hexicans and the Time Value of Money. Thanks for checking us out again for another episode of ROK the BLOK. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Lowkey Giant.